Welcome. Today we're looking into some really dark corners. Stories sourced from online accounts, police files, things that are deeply unsettling. We're talking about unsolved crimes, strange digital codes, real human tragedies, things that stick with you. Our goal isn't to solve them. We can't. It's more about looking at these shadows, these faces, these situations, maybe understanding the questions they leave behind. Let's start with the faces. Police sketches. People who committed terrible crimes and were just never found. First up, the Connecticut River Killer, active in the New Hampshire River Valley area, responsible for at least 7 murders. The attacks were incredibly violent. We're talking multiple stab wounds, sometimes like up to 29 times, and the last known victim. She was pregnant. Miraculously, she survived. Picture this. She fights him off, gets to her car, speeds away for help, and then sees his car driving right in front of her. She escaped again, gave a description. But then, nothing. He just stopped, vanished. That sketch is all that remains. Decades later, still free. That kind of shocking violence for seeming little reason. It echoes in the Burger Chef Massacre from 1978. 4 young workers, teenagers mostly, 16 to 20 years old. They vanished from the restaurant during their shift. The motive? Apparently just $500 in the register. But it wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. They were kidnapped. 2 days later, their bodies were found miles away, 20 miles out. And the way they died, it's grim. 2 shot, 1 stab, and 1 beaten with a heavy chain.
That mix of methods is significant. It doesn't point to one person losing control in a panic. It strongly suggests, well, either multiple killers acting together, each with their own violent preference, or perhaps one individual in a state of complete chaotic rage. The violence feels gratuitous, far beyond what was needed for the robbery. It suggests the killing itself might have been the point, not the money.
Yeah, detachment, that feels right. And it brings us to Glasgow and one of Scotland's most infamous cases, Bible John. He targeted young mothers, 3 women, murdered, strangled actually with their own stockings. His method, he'd meet them at the ballroom, a dance club, gain their trust, seemed charming. Then he'd go home with them. The crucial witness was the sister of his final victim. She shared a taxi with him and her sister right before it happened. Her description was chillingly specific. He looked clean-cut, spoke well, but he kept quoting Bible verses. Constantly, that's where the name came from. The case terrified Glasgow. The media frenzy was huge. So intense, in fact, that an innocent man who got caught up in the speculation he killed himself because of the public pressure. But Bible John, never identified, just disappeared. There was even this persistent rumor, unlikely but unsettling, that maybe he was a police officer himself, hidden in plain sight. Okay, so these are physical crimes, tangible horror. But darkness evolves, right? Now let's look at a more modern mystery, something born online. Lake City Quiet Pills. It started about 7 years back. A Redditor, user 26, posted about his friend who died. An older guy, 79, WII vet. Online name was Religion of Peace, Milo. Seemed like a heart attack. Milo had been on Reddit for a while, shared war stories. Seemed, pretty normal for an older internet user. But he owned a website, an image hosting site, mostly adult pictures. But the domain name, lakecityquietpills.com, which is odd. Investigators, or maybe just curious Redditors at first, they dug into the website's code and found messages, hidden, encrypted.
Right, and these weren't just static bits of code. The sources say they were complex hashes, encrypted, and they changed regularly. That points to something active, an ongoing secure communication channel, like an internet number station, basically, only readable if you had the key.
Exactly. And the theories about what was being communicated, they got dark fast. The idea emerged that Milo, this supposed simple veteran, maybe had a past involving, killing people. That was the phrase used. The running theory was the site was a dead drop for hitmen, passing information about jobs, using code words like party for an assignment, and the name itself, Lake City Quiet Pills. Speculation is it refers to something sinister, maybe specialized ammo, or maybe just a way to say silencing. The most disturbing possibility raised in the sources, that Milo wasn't just a user, but maybe the organizer, the broker. And because he was online, potentially risking exposure, maybe his own network decided he was liability. Maybe they silenced him, made it look natural. We just don't know. From that kind of cold, hidden violence, we shift to something completely different, purely physical, environmental horror. The story of John Jones. It's one of the most terrifying ways someone could possibly die. It happened in 2009. John Jones, 26 years old. He was exploring Nutty Putty Cave in Utah. He went into an unmapped section, tried to squeeze through a tight passage, and slipped. Fell headfirst down this narrow vertical shaft, and he got stuck, wedged completely tight, upside down. Think about that. The passage was incredibly narrow, like the opening of a washing machine, maybe 10 inches wide, 18 inches high in places. Because of the curve, his feet were pointing up towards the ceiling of the passage he'd come from. He was bent at almost a 90-degree angle, trapped, immobile. Being upside down is immediately dangerous. Blood pools in the head, fluid in the lungs. But the real killer was the pressure. The rock squeezing his chest made it almost impossible to breathe properly. A massive rescue effort started. Over 100 people involved. They worked frantically, trying to figure out a way. They eventually managed to get a rope system rigged. A rescuer got down to him, secured a rope. But they faced this awful dilemma. The passage was so tight and angled, pulling him out might require breaking his legs, which could easily cause fatal shock or bleeding. And then the worst happened. The equipment failed. Something in the pulley system gave way. They were back to square one. After hours and hours, 24 agonizing hours, they got a police radio down to him. He was able to talk to his wife, his family one last time. He was trapped for 27 hours in total. Then he became unresponsive. He was pronounced dead right there, wedged in the cave.
The finality of it is just crushing. Rescuers determined it was too dangerous, impossible really, to recover his body, so they made the decision to seal that part of the cave permanently with concrete. Nutty Putty Cave became his tomb. It's this profound statement of nature's indifference and our powerlessness sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely chilling. Okay, let's wrap up with a couple of stories that are less about concrete evidence, more about shared strangeness. Moments where things just don't line up. First, the smart home app visitor. This came from Reddit. Someone kept getting alerts from their smart doorbell app. Late at night, your doorbell has detected a visitor. Yep, they checked the camera feed. Nothing there. So, they figured, okay, maybe an animal, maybe a glitch. Annoying, but explainable. But it kept happening, night after night. Then on the third night, more notifications. And finally, at exactly 4:07 a.m., one last buzz. They checked the camera feed one more time. And according to the user, they saw something specific, but something that just shouldn't have been there. Something deeply wrong that their camera captured but their mind couldn't process. The source leaves it there, but that chilling image implied but unseen by us. That idea of strange, unexplained images connects to this next one. The Blue Hat Man and the photos. This involves multiple accounts dating back to around 1999. People who used to work developing photos. Remember photo labs? One user called Noft described developing film that had what he said were the most convincing UFO photos he'd ever seen. Strange figures standing in a field. The guy who dropped off the film paid quickly, seemed nervous, and just rushed out.
And what makes this compelling is it wasn't just him. Two other users, Bad Alchemist and Gunkrock Steady, reported very similar things. And crucially, their stories seemed centered around one area, Broken Bow, Nebraska, or near it. They all described seeing a specific man dropping off film rolls, a man wearing a nice blazer, but also a distinct blue hat. And he was sweating, seemed really anxious, in a hurry.
Right. And one of them specifically remembered seeing a photo on one of those rolls of what looked like an alien standing in a field near a long line of trees.
It's bizarre. You've got three different people, unconnected later in life, who don't even live in Nebraska anymore, all recalling similar encounters from years ago. Same place, same weirdly specific description of the man with the blue hat, the sweating, the blazer, and these unsettling photos. It makes you wonder about shared anomalies, Especially back then, before everything was instantly online. These localized, strange encounters could create these powerful little legends based on glimpses of something truly inexplicable.
So we've walked through sketches of killers never caught, cryptic digital trails hinting at dark operations, the absolute horror of being trapped by the Earth itself, and these weird shared moments of unexplained phenomena, whether it's a police file, a Reddit post, or a memory from a photo lab. These stories show that some mysteries don't resolve. They just linger, hidden in plain sight sometimes. If these accounts held your attention, if you appreciate exploring these darker narratives, please do hit the like button. Share this with someone else who finds the truly chilling fascinating. And make sure you subscribe to Horror Docs. We'll bring you more stories from the Shadowlands. Until next time, stay safe.